hell happened?
A bomb, I think.
I don't know why he came all the way up here.
There's nothing left.
There are people out there. People worth saving.
Welcome to Earth 2 Comic Cast, where superheroes exist and movie reviews are the norm. I'm your boy Mo Crosby, and this is my A Quiet Place 2 spoiler-free review. That was a lot to do. Thank you for tuning in. This is my A Quiet Place 2 spoiler-free review. But before I get into the movie, which is why you guys are here, I will I'm just gonna go ahead and let John Krasinski tell you why you should go see this movie.
Keeps getting better. I've been going around the country, but I gotta say, it is so good to be in New York! Yes! Any Brooklyn people? Okay. All right. Officially cool, because I live in Brooklyn now. So I'll take a lot of your time, because I'm so excited for you to see the movie, but I have to say, it is so cool that you have all come out. Not only for my movie, but for movies in general. So much for everybody that works at this theater and theaters all over the country. It's so important that we're coming back and we're doing this and we're all coming back together and getting in dark rooms. Does that sound creepy? Getting together in dark rooms? But there's nothing like watching these movies in the theater. And we designed this movie for this specific theater, this exact theater. So you guys are going to get the ride of a lifetime. Thank you so much for coming out. It is so nice.
Yep. So I went last weekend and I saw A Quiet Place 2. I saw it in iMAX, and sound quality, that is one of the better movies I've seen, or one of the best movies to use its sound the way it uses it. A Quiet Place 2 is the sequel to 2018 smash hit A Quiet Place, starring John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Millicent Simmons, Noah Jupe. I believe I'm saying that right. I love The Quiet Place so much. Like it was such a good movie. It was really well done and well directed, that when the sequel was announced, I sat down and I thought to myself, does this movie really need a sequel? Like, is this one of those movies that needs a sequel, or is this the corporate overlord saying, hey, we made so much money with the first one, let's go back and catch lightning in a bottle again? And yeah, I'll just stop right there. But A Quiet Place 2 literally picks up from the end of A Quiet Place 1. If you've seen the first movie, if you haven't, go back and watch it again to refresh yourself. A Quiet Place 2 comes out this weekend. So the first movie ended with them defeating one of the monsters, one of the aliens that comes down, and then this movie picks up from there and then does something with time, and that's all I'm saying in terms of that. But it comes back forward, and we follow the Abbott family, and we go with them on this journey to finding others, or to finding help. And it's an interesting journey that happens, and I think to myself, this is something cool, this is different, and so this is another thing that I really liked that the movie did, or that John did, especially with the sound, is we're opening the world now of A Quiet Place. We're expanding the movie from the store and the farm to like a different, we're moving out of those areas, and we're expanding the movie, and it does that well. The sound direction, in terms of the fact that, with you able to hear everything that, Millicent can't hear, one, and with you being able to hear or to speak, they do very well with the sound direction. The jump scares are there. So it's a scary movie. I'm gonna ask a couple of questions right now that I'm gonna answer at the end. Is this as scary as A Quiet Place? Is this the same quality of movie as A Quiet Place, the first movie? Is this good enough or as good as A Quiet Place? Those three questions I'm going to answer at the end of the review. We follow the family to this new place. We get introduced to a new character played by Cillian Murphy, Cillian or Syrian. I always mess that up. Played by Murphy. Well, we get introduced to him with the thing that they do with time, and then moving forward, we meet him again. The family's in a little bit of a pickle, but and then we move on and on and on and on. I'm trying not to spoil. I don't want to give details. I don't want to spoil this movie. It is done well. I'm also going to say one more thing. The direction of this movie is fantastic. John Krasinski is honestly one of the better directors working in the game today. Like, he does a lot of things, especially with A Quiet Place 1, where that scene with Emily, the most intense scene of the movie, in my opinion, where she's in the tub and she, or she's about to give birth, she steps on the nail, she's in the tub. That entire scene, in my opinion, is the strongest horror movie scene I've seen in a while. And he did that very well in that movie, and he comes back in this movie and he does a lot more things with horror, and he does a lot more things with sound. Again, this movie, just as the first, relies on the sound, the sound of it, of the sound of the world around them, and he does really well. He excels in this movie. Now, the questions that I asked, again, because I don't want to talk too much into about the movie itself. Is this as good as A Quiet Place? No, it's not. Is it good? Yes, it is. It's good enough where it stands on its own. If I never, and this is what I was afraid of when they announced the sequel. If I never saw A Quiet Place, this would be a really good movie for me to expect a sequel from. And if I got a sequel after this movie, I'd be okay. I think a sequel after this movie would have been better. And if they do have another sequel, if A Quiet Place was a sequel to A Quiet Place 2, it would be the best 2-movie tandem in the world, right? But it didn't, it didn't work out that way. This was literally, again, as I said in the beginning of this, the corporate overlords decided this movie made money. Let's go make the money back again. Does this movie scare you as good as A Quiet Place 1 did? Not as much. To me, not as much, because it fell into the point where things became a little bit predictable in this movie, and I was really scared of that. I didn't want things to be predictable in this movie. I didn't want this movie to be predictable at all, but there were a lot of things in this movie that were predictable. Does that make it a bad movie? No. Does it just take away some of the scares from you? Yes. It takes away the fact that you think someone is gonna die, but boom, they don't. Because they're the hero of the movie, or they're the person that the movie wants to prop up, so they're not gonna die. Boom. Is the acting good? The acting is good. The acting, in my opinion, is just as good as it was in the first movie. Millicent shines again in this movie, just like she did in the last one. She's one of the better characters of this movie. She's one of the better actors of this movie. I didn't really care for Emily Blunt or Noah Jupe. I didn't really care for their characters as much as maybe I did in the first movie, and I'm thinking because John was a lot prevalent in the movie to kind of bounce off of them, so he didn't, in my opinion, they didn't do too well, or they didn't do anything to me that made me care about what their circumstances or the characterization. Finally, well, as I said, this movie's not as good as A Quiet Place 1, but it is good in its own right, to where you should go see it this weekend. And you know what? Go see it and come back and tell me if I'm wrong. But again, I don't think it's as good as the first one, but I will give it like a B. I'm pretty sure when we did the review for the first one, I gave it an A. I will give this movie a B. It's a really, really good movie. It's a really interesting movie. It's still a unique movie in the horror genre, even though they're tropes. Even though it falls into a little bit of predictability, it's still a really good movie in the horror genre. It still has its scares. And what this movie does well is, because the world is open, because they're opening the world of the movie, because they're opening the world of A Quiet Place, it's easy for them to use the environment to do more scares. Where the first movie, you were so confined, and it was scary because of you were confined. You were in a small space, a tight space. Granted, you're on a farm, but you're still in a small, tight space. Where this movie is open world, and so you don't know where it's coming from. So anything can come out from anywhere and jump and scare you. And this movie does that well. John does that well to to use that as jump scares and to use that to scare people. And it works. It works. Ultimately, A Quiet Place 2 is a good movie. Go see it. I hope I don't think I've spoiled anything. I don't think I even talked about a lot of the story of the movie, because it's a very linear and simple story. Simple. They're continuing on their journey they're finding people, they're finding help, and on that journey things happen. Millicent knows what to do to defeat the aliens from the first movie, and so she tries something bigger in this movie, and it's interesting to see how that unfolds. But honestly, I'm saying this, right? I would have been okay with not seeing this movie. I would have been okay if this movie never came out, but I'm fine with the fact that the movie did come out. It's not better, but it's not a bad movie. It's just that when you had A Quiet Place, when you have a movie that is as good as A Quiet Place, it's really difficult to follow this up. But there was a thought I had when I saw this movie, right? It was like Alien and Aliens. If you understand the comparison, Alien is a very good, small, confined, scary movie. Aliens is a very good horror action movie, where A Quiet Place is a small, confined horror movie. A Quiet Place 2 has a lot more action in it. So it's so that's what I'm drawing when I think about it. I'm a big fan of Alien, not necessarily a big fan of Aliens. And so in that right, you can understand why I feel the way I feel about this movie. There were a lot of people that I saw this movie with, and a lot of them liked it. Even one person said this movie was more fun than the first, because the first was more boring, and I didn't like that. To be honest. But honestly, good movie. Go see it. Come back and tell me what you think about it. And I will see you on the next movie review. Thank you for watching. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.
What happened? A bomb, I think.